All right, it's time to talk about modern training. And what we're gonna do is go over a little bit of how periodization has changed, right? So if we go back to the old school days, right? What you saw was a strict periodization model. Okay, so this is like linear, stample, even to a degree, but not quite as much. But you saw a strict periodization model, right? What that meant was that for each different period of the year, right? If we block this out, we have our base, we have our I don't know, a hill phase if we're linear. A speed phase, and then a sharpening phase. So a strict periodization means that we have distinct phases throughout, right? So during this base phase, our volume is high, right? So volume is high, our intensity is low, and for the majority of it, so our emphasis is on long aerobic. So for the majority of the work, we're doing long aerobic work, right? Then we move into the next phase. So using linear as an example, then we have basically 3 to 5 days a week of hill or what he called speed development, right? So hills are the focus. Intensity is a little higher. Volume is kind of medium, so it drops a little bit. Intensity is kind of medium to high. And again, like 3 to 5 days a week, we're doing hills or like speed development, and then 1 day a week, we're doing long stuff, so long run. Then you go into linear again. This is a rehash, but it's good to do. To the speed component, what happens? Now we're doing intervals 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the schedule. Our intensity has gone way up. Our volume has dropped more. We're focused on this. Then during the sharpening, our volume goes down even further. Our intensity in terms of effort goes up. And now we're just doing short, very fast work coupled with some easy running. So my point here, in a strict periodization model, you block it off into segments. And that could be in a linear, that could be several weeks, that could be months, that could be 3 weeks periods, whatever it is, you block it off into this, during this phase, this is predominantly what I'm working on. Right? If we went into more modern, a little bit, and we do what a lot of high school athletes do, or where we progress to with maybe a very beginning Jack Daniels, although towards the end he changes things a little bit. But now maybe we have we have a base, we have a threshold segment, a VO2 segment, and a speed segment, right? And the emphasis in each area changes drastically, right? So during the base phase, it might be similar to linear, volumes high, right? Intensity low, emphasis long stuff. Threshold stuff, now we add in, we keep that same base, so the volume is kind of high, not quite as high as the volume. Intensity is going up a little bit, but not as high. But the emphasis is on threshold tempo work. As we go down the line, now we've got into maybe 800s, Ks, whatever have you, at VO2 max, right? So 3K type pace, depending on how you define it. And we do that 2 to 3 times a week, along with some easy stuff. We go into speed and we start going into 400s at mile repeat pace, right? Or mile pace. Sorry, not mile repeat. So 400s, right? So what we look at, although there's a little intermixing between, is you have very strict periods, right? So during this phase, right, we might have Monday, Wednesday, Friday being some of these intervals at VO2 max or something similar. So this is a very traditional kind of strict periodization model in modern terms, right? We get shorter, we get faster. What happens is you see, hopefully you guys can see this, but you can see if we track volume and intensity, okay, volume's high at the beginning and drops, okay, intensity low at the beginning and goes up. That's kind of the traditional periodization model for distance runners. All right, hopefully you guys understand that. Now let's move into how things have shifted in recent years, or more recently. So now, instead of having a strict, or what I call a linear periodization, what has happened is in a lot of places we've moved towards a mixed, or what I call a funnel periodization. Now what does that mean? So what we've done is, in terms of mixed, is we've gotten rid of these strict periods, right? And instead what's happened is we have different emphases during the different times of the year, right? From beginning to end. But almost everything is in there. So if we use that last model, the VO2, LT, whatever. So during this time, our emphasis might be on long aerobic, but at the same time, we're doing some sort of strides or pure sprint work. So a very light speed component, right? So we're keeping things in here. As we progress in the season, maybe now we have some like tempo, threshold, whatever you want to call it, on this side of the equation, but we also have some long runs to maintain that. We have some fartlek to maintain a little of that specific, maybe 5K, 10K speed, and then we also have maybe some rhythm plus sprint work where we're doing 200s on the track or hill sprints or something like that. Okay, so the emphasis is changing, right, towards this, but everything is around it. So it's not like, you know, oh, we're in a VO2 max phase, now we're doing 2 to 3 VO2 max workouts a week. Or we're gonna get really fast in the last 4 or 6 weeks of training, so we're gonna do sprint intervals or 400s fast or 200s really fast for the rest of the season. And if we progress, right, now you might look at, if this is for cross-country training, we might look at some 5K type training. So in other terms, close to VO2. That's the emphasis, but we're doing a little bit of like tempo and fartlek to maintain that side. And we're doing a little more of like 3K mile pace to maintain that, plus maybe some hill sprints or some 200s to rhythm it. Everything's always in there. Not necessarily all in the same week, but all over the same 2 to 3 week period. Like, we're nailing each one of these spots, right? And if I was to summarize it, what it looks like is this, very simple. I think it's a funnel looking at beginning of the year to end of the year. I think what we look at is we funnel towards specificity a little bit. So this is how it tends to look in everything except the marathon. The marathon's a little bit different. But if this is our 5K, right? So during our peak phase, like, or right before we're hitting our peak phase, like we're trying to run a fast 5K, so the emphasis is on 5K pace work, right? Maybe a little before that, 10K. And on the speed side, 3K pace work. Well, that was a horrible 3. Not much better. A little before that, maybe 1500 pace. Maybe this is like 15K. Half. Marathon pace. Easy. Right. And another. Pure sprint. Well, it doesn't always work exactly what this looks like. An excuse of horrible handwriting. But what happens is you tend to, the emphasis right here tends to funnel from the top down and from the bottom up. And we develop the extremes and then kind of bring them together in pieces. And this is more of what I see in like a Canova style training plan. Now, once you get down here, like once you get past over here, it doesn't mean you forget about this stuff. It just means it's almost like dashed, right? And it becomes maintenance. Right? Makes sense? Hopefully. So that's what we see more now in terms of modern training. How it's changed from maybe from many decades to a couple decades ago. The other thing you see is a lot of time instead of that volume intensity X, right? What you're seeing more is, let's look at a build a volume, right? Build a volume and then a very slow gradual drop off. Or for some, right, almost a maintenance for your more slow twitch orientated athletes. Fast twitch orientated athletes, maybe a little bigger drop. But it's not like this big drastic drop. It's more progressive. And intensity almost works to the same, only a little bit delayed, right? So if we were to look to intensity, maybe it's like that. Something similar. But you can see the emphasis is almost on building versus, this nice volume intensity X. So hopefully that makes sense. This is how I see the difference in terms of periodization from the past to the present. So thanks again for listening, watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or send them our way and I'll try to clear them up. Thanks, guys.